Hello, welcome back to Middle East in Depth, part of Levant TV's Press Reviews. Jackson Pack, a researcher at Cambridge University and president of LibyaAnalysis.com, is featured in an article in the New York Times and is titled "How to End Libya's War." Since the Arab Spring began 4 years ago, whole swathes of Middle East have been transformed from authoritarian police states into ungoverned and ungovernable spaces. In Iraq and Syria, the vacuum left by the receding state has been filled by various Islamist movements. Yet even in these countries, the national government still retains sovereignty and control over their capital cities. To preserve a semblance of neutrality, the Libyan central bank pays salaries to the militias and bureaucrats of both warring blocs. For months, both sides had clung to hopes of scoring a decisive victory and riding off with the country's considerable oil wealth. As the prospect waned and the cost of prolonged conflict grew even greater, moderates of both factions met for peace talks in Geneva. Progress at the negotiating table has led to a conditional ceasefire. The writer adds that the West's approach to this crisis has relied on an oversimplified narrative which sees a legitimate anti-Islamist government in Tobruk facing off against an Islamist administration in Tripoli. It is local leaders and militia commanders and not the politicians of both administrations who hold power in Libya. Moreover, the fighting had descended into a zero-sum grudge match unrelated to religion. The writer concludes the war in Libya is not about religion or ideology, it is about greed and vengeance. And he says by not lending our tacit support to either side and firmly preventing meddlesome regional actors from helping their clients, we could remove the poisonous injections of cash and weapons that drive the conflict. Now moving on to Beirut, the Daily Star's columnist Rami Khouri says Hezbollah's response will reveal much about its multiple roles. The Israeli attack Sunday in the Syrian Golan Heights that killed Hezbollah and Iranian officials has understandably generated much speculation, primarily about whether, when and how Hezbollah will retaliate against Israeli targets. The easy answer is that of course Hezbollah will respond in some manner that it deems appropriate, but this is really not the most significant aspect of what happened. That label must go to two related phenomena: the tangled dynamics of Hezbollah's relations inside Lebanon and around the Middle East. The writer adds the fact that the Israeli attack in Syria, an almost routine event, sadly actually hit 3 targets in one, namely Hezbollah, Syria and Iran. Khouri adds how those 3 members of the resistance and deterrence front will or can retaliate against Israel is the significant issue here. That is because it can clarify the consequences of Hezbollah's role in Lebanese politics and in the resistance and deterrence front in the wider Middle East. Years ago, he says, Hezbollah was a simpler actor defined mainly by its 2 most successful legacies: military resistance to Israel and the mobilization and lifting up the Shiite Lebanese community from the bottom of Lebanese society to dominance of the national governance system. Today, Khouri argues Hezbollah is a different and more complex actor. This reflects new or merely more explicit elements of the party's basic dimensions. He says Hezbollah's active warfare and military deterrence against Israel is one of it. And it's fighting in Syria to maintain the Assad regime, it's fighting against the al-Nusra Front inside Lebanon, and its continued structural and strategic links with Iran, and its dialogue with the future movement in Lebanon to reduce domestic polarization and reconstitute a legitimate governance system with a functioning parliament and presidency. Khouri adds Hezbollah probably also has a new challenge, which is to tighten up its security system. This follows the recent capture of one of its members identified as an Israeli spy. The probability, he says, is that Israeli intelligence was behind the Sunday attack, reflecting continuing security leaks in what had always been a well-sealed system. And because of all these linked local, regional and global factors, Khouri adds any expected retaliation against Israel in the near future will reveal much about the state of Hezbollah, Syria and Iran, and the condition of their resistance and deterrence front. That was it for today's brief analysis. For more updates, please visit Levant.tv. You could also subscribe to Middle East in Depth on iTunes. Thanks for watching and bye for now.